Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Zoey
Zoey
102.
102. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura. And we're sisters who watch everything: TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even reunions of our childhood shows.
That's right.
We love to watch and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
Zoey
102.
The Paramount Plus movie reuniting the Zoey 101 cast.
Woo!
Yay!
Did you think there would be a Zoey 101 remake?
No.
No.
Not at all.
What?
I mean, for all of the millennials out there, this was a show of our childhood.
Yes.
Zoey 101, iconic. Was
iconic
on Nickelodeon in the mid 2000s. And when it, I think, was on Netflix a few years ago, so many people were talking about it. There was a resurgence. So I remember that happening, like, oh, people want to watch this again. But I never thought they would make a remake or a reboot or a reunion, because it was only on like 3 seasons or something. Didn't have a long run, but it meant a lot to us.
Right? I think it's interesting looking back, because in our childhoods, shows like Zoey 101 and Drake and Josh, right? They meant so much to us, but then looking back, you realize they only had like 3 seasons. I think Drake and Josh also only had like 2 or 3 seasons, which is so bizarre to think about because it felt like such a huge part of our childhood.
Yes.
And to be on only a couple years is very strange.
Crazy.
But I still can't believe what we watched, that this is real. This movie honestly felt like a fever dream. You're like, what is going on? It was so wild and absurd, but very entertaining. So that's just, a little snippet of how I feel about the movie. But yeah, Zoey 101 was such an iconic Nick show when we were kids.
And it created some stars. Of course, Jamie Lynn Spears, who played Zoey, our protagonist.
Iconic Britney Spears' younger sister.
That's right.
Can't forget that.
And Victoria Justice, who probably, I think, the biggest person to come from Zoey 101.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
She ended up getting her own show, Victorious. But now, she's been in a few Netflix movies, but not doing that much.
I personally cannot tell you anything Victoria Justice has done since Victorious. I have not seen her anywhere. I haven't.
She was in A Perfect Pairing on Netflix.
Oh.
After Life of the Party.
Don't sound familiar to me, but maybe they're hits, and I just had no idea. Good for her.
Good for her. She's
good
working.
For Victoria Justice. She's working. Good for her. Yeah, besides, there haven't really been huge stars from Zoey 101 besides them.
No.
I mean, Quinn, she was on Big Time Rush. Do you remember? She was a side character.
Logan, right?
Yeah, she dated Logan on the show. So that's the only person I could think of who did something beyond the show. I can't think of anyone.
I agree.
I mean, something I also loved about the original show was the theme song. So iconic. Oh, I know you see me standing here. Yeah. So good. Okay,
we gotta stop.
We gotta stop. And Zoe's key, the key necklace.
The scenery, right? It was shot in Malibu.
Yes, at Pepperdine, the Pepperdine campus.
It was very aspirational. I think as kids, you watching that, you're like, wow, I want to go to boarding school in California.
I know, bougie.
This looks great.
And we're like, wow, tweens can actually, have fun like this. It felt like a fantasy land. And the movie pokes fun at this in a really good way. Mm-hmm. They were like, what happened to PCA? And they were like, oh, it shut down because it wasn't a real school. Someone was
were they ever in class?
Literally, someone was like embezzling money through it, like something crazy. But basically, PCA was in fact not a real school, and they were just stealing money from these rich kids. So we were
Makes
right.
sense looking back. Yeah.
Right. So what were your expectations coming into Zoe 102?
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned because sometimes these reboots, reunions cannot be
Right.
great. I mean, we never saw Raven's Home, but
No,
didn't hear great things.
no,
And I do think sometimes the quality of a reboot or refresh might just be a money grab. They're not really thinking about it. So I was
for
a little
sure.
concerned. And we've had a lot of reboot fatigue. It's all the franchises and prequels and sequels. It's been a lot.
Right. A lot.
So I came in a little worried about what it would be like. But Zoey 101 was such a great show growing up. I was excited. I was curious.
I agree. I was definitely curious. They were playing the trailer a lot. And I remember when it dropped on YouTube earlier this year, everyone was talking about it. And there were so many commercials for the movie. And I was like, this is bad. This is going to be a bad movie.
Trailer
That
didn't
was
look good.
how I felt. I was like, this is going to be so corny, so bad, not funny. I really had the lowest of low expectations. But like you, I was curious because it's a show that we grew up loving, right?
Yeah.
It's a show of our childhood. I want to see how they bring these characters together. And we also are a fan of the new iCarly reboot on Paramount Plus. We have watched the first few seasons. I think it's now on season 3, and it really surprised me. I just watched it because I was curious. But then I was like, wait, this is actually good. So also seeing how well they did the iCarly reboot, I was
Mm-hmm.
curious to see, how they would do the Zoe 102 reboot. And like you said with Raven's Home, I think I might have watched like one episode or like half an episode.
Mm.
And the thing with that is that that show is made for kids. Raven's Home, it's like
Oh,
Raven as a mom and Chelsea
yeah.
as a mom with kids. And it's not made, it didn't mature with the generation, right? Whereas
Yeah,
iCarly and Zoe 102, that matured with the kids who watched it growing
which I
up.
love.
Right, which makes us excited and makes us love those
Mm-hmm.
shows. So I think that's what's really smart about Zoe 102 and iCarly, whereas Raven's Home, who's the audience? Because we're not watching that show,
No, haven't
right?
seen a single episode. I'd say another thing that I was a little worried about going in is that not all of the original cast came back for the
Right.
reboot. Victoria Justice, even though she's like the biggest star, she did not come back, apparently because of scheduling conflicts.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
interesting. What
Strange.
conflicts?
I know. What was she working on?
Maybe she's working on another Netflix movie I've never heard of. Maybe that's
Oh
what she's
my
doing. What scheduling
god.
conflict does Victoria
Yikes.
Justice have to not be on Zoe 102? Arguably, this is one of the more popular things she would probably be in the past 10 years
It seems
because
strange.
I'm not watching her Netflix stuff. I'm watching this, and she's not even in this. Scheduling conflicts? What scheduling conflicts? If anyone
Yikes.
has evidence of Victoria Justice working, please send it our way. I have not seen it. I have not seen it.
Laura going in on Victoria today.
I mean, I don't have a problem with her. It's just hard for me to believe that she was like, no, I have more important obligations than doing the Zoe 101 reboot.
I agree. It does seem strange.
Right?
Typically, you'd think for a reboot like this, where most of the cast comes back, they they would all make an effort to be there.
Right.
Alexa Nicholas was also not in it. Remember, she was in the first season,
Right.
but then was replaced. And apparently, the reason she left the first season, there was like some issues on the set with other cast members. So I'm not
Oh,
shocked she wouldn't be back for this.
yeah,
But of course, it would be great if like everyone, like all of the main people, were there.
I agree. And of
And
course, we missed Dustin, the little
yes, that was
brother.
shocking.
Where
I
was
was
he?
shocked that he was not there.
So
Justice for
random.
Dustin. He was kind of a good character.
He was. He was funny. Like he was
Yeah.
really cute on the show. He was definitely one of the highlights. So shocking that
Mistake.
he wasn't there. Scheduling conflicts for him. Like I don't know where he is. Maybe he quit acting. I don't know. But
Who knows?
if anyone knows where Dustin is, let us know.
Send him our way. And like you mentioned about the iCarly reboot, it does seem like there's a Nickelodeon renaissance on Paramount Plus.
Oh
Zoe
yeah.
102, iCarly, who knows what's next? But I'm here
Mhm.
for it. We
Me
started
too.
watching iCarly together with our brother. And it was like nostalgic and fun and like a nice little watch.
Exactly. Zoey 102, iCarly, fun, light, and funnier than you would think. So
Yes, pleasantly surprised me.
let's give a background, because I feel like a lot of people probably don't have Paramount Plus or are just curious about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to us.
So the premise for Zoey 102, it's about like 10 years later from them graduating from PCA. So they're all like in their late 20s, early 30s ish. And Logan and Quinn are getting married. If you remember them from the show, Quinn
Logan
was
was
like
the bad
nerdy,
boy.
Logan was
Yeah.
the bad boy, but shockingly, they got together and they're still together and are finally getting married. And
Yes.
everyone is coming back to Southern California for their wedding. So the whole gang is back together. They all come back for this big occasion. Chase, Michael, Mark, Stacy, you name it, they're all there. And it was so fun to
Except for
see.
Victoria Justice and Dustin. Yeah. But everyone
Yeah,
else.
except for them, everyone else was there. It was interesting to see how they aged, but it was also cool to see
Ouch.
everyone back. Very nostalgic.
Yeah, I must say, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like being a child actor. They must have
Mm-hmm.
had and gone, had a rough go, gone through a lot, but
Yeah.
they didn't look great.
No.
They look, they looked like they had been through a
I
lot.
think Quinn looked the best.
Yeah,
Would you
Quinn
say
looked
that?
good. Quinn looked good.
Logan looks
I will
pretty
also
good
Logan
too.
also looked good too.
Yeah.
Yes. He looked like a man because he was so
Yes.
boyish.
He was
He
like
looked
such a
very
kid on the
mature.
show. So it was kind of shocking to see him in this state. I was like,
Yeah, but
wow.
they looked the best hands down. Everyone else, yeah, looked a bit older than like late 20s,
Yeah. In the midst of everyone coming together for the wedding, Zoey is struggling in all areas of her
Yeah.
life. We find out she's a producer on Love Reality Charged, which is a spoof on like a Love Island, Bachelor in Paradise kind of show. Hilarious. But her boss isn't the best and she's struggling on the job. She's struggling in her dating life as well. She's going on a lot of dates, and on her second date with a guy, he proposes to her.
Which
Crazy.
was
Bizarre.
too much.
So, since she has pressure for this wedding about having a date, she decides to hire an actor to be her date to the wedding. Yikes.
Ciao.
Yikes. Big yikes.
Yikes.
And on top of
Yikes.
that, she hasn't seen Chase in years. They had like a falling out, and he's coming to the wedding with his girlfriend.
So Zoe's in a bit of a pickle.
He's in a pickle.
I remember in the trailer, it's like, oh, Logan and Quinn are getting married and everyone's getting back together. And Zoe's like, oh my gosh, I have a date. And you see her being like, I need you to play my boyfriend to this actor. And I'm just like, I think that's what sent me. I was like, this movie's going to be horrible. Because it's such a common bad rom-com trope, being like, I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend, right? Yeah. And it was just, I mean, talk about screaming of desperation. Like, go alone. Go alone. That is
You'll
so
survive.
Embarrassing.
Better to
Hiring
go
an
alone
actor?
than to hire someone and have people find out that you hired him, which does happen. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Everyone finds out that she did hire an actor.
That is so embarrassing. That is 10 times, 1,000 times more embarrassing than going alone to a wedding. Zoey was just making a whole lot of bad decisions this movie. Oh my goodness. She's going through a quarter life crisis. Clearly.
It's tough. Hey, being in your 20s.
It's hard. It's hard. Take it from 220 somethings. It's, oh my God. It's hard.
Trying to figure out your life. That's for sure. So basically, a lot of shenanigans ensue because it just so happens that the same day of Quinn's wedding, where Zoe's the maid of honor, her Love Reality Charge show has its finale. And she's trying to do better on the job. So she's like, oh, I want to work the finale. So she decides she's going to work the finale and be the maid of honor on the same day and just go back and forth from the locations because they both happen to be in Malibu.
Yeah, it was just so bad. She was trying to do too much, classic main character. And she's basically sabotaged both things.
Yes.
Right? And And, Zoe was struggling in her job, right? Her boss was pretty misogynistic, did not listen to what she had to
Not at
say.
all.
She'd been in the same position, hasn't been promoted, gets treated basically like trash on the show. And her boss is played by the hilarious Thomas Lennon, who
Oh
I
my
will
gosh, he's
say
so funny.
crushed in this movie. He
He
was
was
so
good.
funny.
He
He
played the
was,
like mean boss who's
yes.
crazy really well.
Yeah, he plays that weird, funny,
Yes.
character very, very well. So he was super funny in this movie. But Zoe was struggling in her job. So she was like, I have to work this finale in order to, impress my boss, get
Yes.
ahead, get promoted, etc. So she was trying to balance both. But she was lying to both her boss and to Quinn, and she pissed off both those people.
Worked out great.
I can't. Let's get into some of these themes. Obviously, friendship is huge because they're reuniting these high school friends for the first time in 10 years, all as a group. And apparently, they all hang out together regularly, except for Zoe. And they all live in LA. I'm just like, what? I just...
Except Chase. Chase lives in Baltimore.
Yes. I'm just like, what is Zoe doing?
I know. It's interesting. I can understand because I'm not friends with all the friends that I had in high school, right? It's a long time. Like things change, evolve. But if you're in the same city as some of them and you guys were supposed to be like BFFs, that does seem strange, right? Like I've had friends move to LA now and like we reconnect because we're both in the same city. So I am surprised that they could all be living in LA and they're going to hang out without Zoe. It seems weird.
It seems very bizarre. So the group is still tight. However, Zoe has kind of isolated herself. She feels very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't really, she scrolls through all their Instagrams and sees them hanging out, having a good time. And it's like, girl, they want to see you. It felt like she was self-sabotaging in a lot of different aspects of her life.
Agreed.
And you see Zoe and Quinn, their friendship struggling because Quinn is like, girl, I love you. You're not being honest with me. Something's going on. And Quinn was so excited that she had a boyfriend. She was like, oh my gosh, Todd. I didn't know about Todd. And it's like, well, he's a paid actor. Surprise,
yeah, like
surprise.
no one knew about Todd.
I can't.
And I think you see the ups and downs with friendships because Quinn also wasn't being fully transparent with Zoe. Like she, towards the end, says to Zoe, I actually am really nervous to marry Logan. And I'm kind of frustrated that the wedding has been focused on him. He's being a bit of a groomzilla and it's not really what I want. All of the pomp and circumstance, a little too much for her.
Right.
And that's not something she was really honest with initially. So it's, a give and take. We all have our moments. But at the end, they forgive each other, of course. And
exactly. And the friendships are mended. And you see that too with Zoe and Chase, right? Because they were such good friends. And they, had an awkward moment. They had a falling out. And then they just completely cut each other off. That's a good segue to another theme of first and young loves, right? You see Quinn and Logan, I guess they were dating for 10 years and they decided to get married after 10 years. But,
long time.
So but you see them, Quinn finally got the ring, right? And you see them, having struggles, like you said. Logan was being a groomzilla, but you also see Chase and Zoe reconnect and reminisce about all the old times and how much fun they had together because they had been estranged for years.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you feel like it's normal to end up with your like first young love? Because at least from my experience and like seeing friends, it's not very common right now, but it's interesting how in this movie, a lot of the main characters, they end up with their like high school sweethearts.
Right. I think with generations, things have changed so much. I feel like millennials and Gen Zs, right? Who's marrying their high school sweetheart these days? I don't know anyone.
Seem common.
No, but I think, right, like when our parents, were growing up and like, grandparents stuff, I feel like people are like, oh, I married my high school sweetheart. I feel like that was way more common, but I don't know anyone these days.
So it's interesting to see that happen here.
Right. couples from high school getting married and reconnecting. It's like, oh, interesting.
Crazy.
Very interesting.
Maybe a little unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie does not live in reality. So all very unrealistic. I can't. Okay, what were some of your favorite moments?
Yes. I thought it was hilarious when we realized that Zoe is a producer on a dating show,
Oh, yeah.
and seeing the spoof, it was giving Love Island, and we had just seen Love Island, and the characters were so over the top, and the producers were really producing, and
Yeah.
the castmates really look at the producer Zoe, tell me what to say, and I'm like, this is hilarious, because that's like a trope in these shows, right? That
For sure.
producers are telling people what to do. So I thought that was really fun.
I totally agree. I love the reality show. Love Reality Charged. And basically the premise of the show, it's like Love Island in a sense, because basically all the contestants are vying for a smart car, like basically a Tesla type car. And if you're voted, America's favorite couple, then you win the car. Or you can decide at the end, you can either choose to stay with the person or choose to keep the car for yourself. So kind of like a bachelor pad, OG
Yes.
Love Island
Yes.
kind of stuff. So the premise of that show was so bizarre, but it was really funny because you see them being like, who's gonna win the car? Like all this stuff. It was very funny.
And we had recently been talking about self-driving cars and how it freaks me out. And you have been in a few of them in SF.
Yes, the cruises.
So I thought it was wild that they take that on in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think they did a lot of that, right? The reality shows, self-driving cars. Like I think they were trying to be very like modern, present day.
Right. I agree. And I think it did that successfully because you and I, we both watched How I Met Your Father. Got canceled.
I barely watched. I got like 2 episodes in and I was like, it's not for me.
I think I watched maybe 4 episodes, 4 or 5. You watched the first 2. But that show was like, it was trying to be trendy and modern, but it was just cringy. So cringy millennial
So
Gen Z type humor. I was like, what? It felt like
Very
boomers were
forced.
writing like millennial jokes. It was so
Yes.
weird.
Agreed.
But this movie, it was topical, but it was funny and it didn't feel super forced. And I like how you said they talked about self-driving cars and reality shows. And I really liked the way that they did that because, I mean, if you were afraid of self-driving cars, this movie did not help the case
My
for
case,
self-driving
as
cars.
someone who's against self-driving cars, this movie is great proof that we should avoid doing that.
Oh yeah, this self-driving car was rogue. This Love Island self-driving car was off the rails.
It was hilarious. I think that was like one of my favorite moments as well, when the car does go rogue. And then it helps drive the plot forward because Zoe's needs to pick up the rings on the day of the wedding because she forgot.
She forgot to pick up the rings. I can't.
And she's going to take the self-driving car that's supposed to be the prize for the competition dating show. And Chase is like, hey, what are you doing? And then falls into the car. The car closes the door and drives off. And then, of course, our protagonist and her former boo are stuck in a car all the way to Santa Barbara because she doesn't know how to control it and make it stop. So then they're stuck together for hours. And I just thought it was so funny, but also clever because, yes, finally these two get to be together and just
talk it out.
Right. And bond.
Exactly. The self-driving car was definitely a main character.
It was.
Main character in the movie. It almost ruined the wedding. It almost drove into an ice sculpture of Quinn and Logan. And she almost ran over half the wedding party.
Literally.
Like, what is
she
wrong
forgot
with
to
Zoey?
Charge it. So on the way back from Santa Barbara, they get stranded and have to
on the side of the road
run back to the wedding to make it on time. It just everything about it. The self-driving car did not want anyone to succeed.
I know you also loved when Zoey finally stood up for herself to her annoying boss, Thomas Lennon.
Because basically, at the end, Zoey comes to her boss like, I've had enough. This is crazy. You've been so annoying. And he's like, whoa, shocked that she would say it. And then he's like, well, we actually want to keep you. Let's promote you. And she's like, finally. Kind of shows the value, right, of sticking up for yourself, knowing your worth,
Right.
and making sure people know, yeah, I should get promoted. You've been
Exactly.
taking advantage of me and not knowing my full potential.
Right. Zoe is lucky in this movie because she
Yes.
almost ruined both the TV show and the wedding. I mean, she kind of did because
I
for
wouldn't
the
say
TV,
almost. She
she definitely did. So, so Zoe, she forgets to charge the self-driving car. So it gets abandoned on the side of the road and they have to run like 10 miles or something to get back to Malibu. So they're running with the rings, and one of the hosts of the show is like, Zoe, where's the car, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I can't get the car to you. So she abandons the show, abandons the car, and then she shows up late to the wedding. And then Quinn is so overwhelmed by Zoe not being there for her, by Logan being a groomzilla, she calls off the wedding.
Another reason that Quinn was upset is because Zoe is at the altar, right? Like a maid of honor with an earbud in her ear talking to the contestants at the finale. So you literally have her distracted at the wedding, and Quinn's already overwhelmed and just like tip over the iceberg. She's done.
That was so bad. That's a perfect segue into her least favorite moment.
It is that.
Yeah, Zoe working at the altar, making Quinn call off the wedding. That was rough.
That was really rough.
And I must say, Zoe's hair was rough in this movie. Look up some photos. The extensions were horrible. I don't know who her hairstylist was, but Jamie Lynn Spears, justice for your hair. It did not look good.
Maybe it wasn't the best hair budget, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the budget was for Paramount Plus. I mean, they were just like in one plot in Malibu the whole time, but the hair was bad. And we also talked about Stacy and Mark, came back, and I think they're married. And Stacy was horrible to him. So mean.
Yeah. It's like she got a lot of confidence post PCA, but almost like too much, where she's like mean to her man, and
weird.
They work together. She's a true crime podcast host, and he's like the field producer researcher helping find like stories. So she like bosses him around all the time, and it was just cringy, like uncomfortable. And I was like, Stacey, why are you acting like this?
Yeah,
so I didn't like that.
Not like that. No. And Zoe's actor boyfriend, everyone loved him, at the wedding.
He was funny. He was a great actor.
So popular. But I have to say, there was a cliffhanger at the end.
A weird
Basically,
cliffhanger.
Stacy is talking about this San Diego, this Malibu serial killer. And at the end, you see Todd like shutting a body in a trunk. And I
like
thought that
smiling
was
at the camera.
So weird.
That's literally how the movie ended.
That's how the movie ended. I was like, that wasn't necessary.
It wasn't.
No, because I think the movie ended. I was pleasantly surprised. It ended well. Basically, Quinn calls off the wedding the day of, and then Zoe's like, Quinn, I'm so sorry, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they end up throwing a wedding at the old PCA campus. That's like run down, abandoned, gross.
We have questions on how they even got access, why there could be a wedding there.
Breaking and entering?
Why would they want to have a wedding at like an abandoned school?
No. None of it made sense. So Todd being a serial killer in the end, weird. And the cringy wedding at PCA, weird. There's no way Quinn or Logan would want this. They were wearing like street clothes. What? No.
Yeah.
No.
What I want for mine, that's for sure.
No.
Strange.
Ready to ditch that job and become your own boss? Listen to the Beauty Boss Millionaire podcast for daily advice on how to start and grow your business. Hosted by yours truly, Felicia Fracassi, owner of Fracassi Lashes and the Blow Dry Lounge, and a bunch of Airbnbs. I'll show you how I made my first million and teach you how to do the same. New episodes streaming daily at beautybossmillionaire.com and wherever you listen to your podcast. It's time to boss up.
So Shelby,
our categories.
Who or what did you love to hate?
I have to say Zoe, like she classic main character energy really hurt. She really made it hard for herself to succeed. Trying to balance the reality show and Quinn's wedding, the fake boyfriend, ignoring Chase. Like it was just a lot. I definitely was rooting for her at the end, but I was like, girl, you kind of did a lot of this to yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. Zoe, she did redeem herself in the end, but she did so much damage. I don't know if I can love to hate her. She just
Is she a hate to
she
hate
literally ruined the wedding,
I
the
know.
reality show. There was just too much damage. Too much damage. So hard for me to love to hate her.
That's fair.
Also, Todd, I also don't know if I can love to hate him either. He ended up being a serial killer.
I know.
Like, why did they do that?
But what's the reason why I initially thought love to hate? Because he was such a good character. People liked him. He was funny. He was a good actor, and he was hot.
He was good.
And then he ended up being a serial killer.
Weird. Really, really weird.
Don't like that.
And for hate to hate, I know Stacy was bad. Did not
mean
like
to Mark.
Stacey.
Did not like her.
So mean to her.
I also have to say the self-driving car caused a lot of problems. I don't like them anyway. I think a human should be driving a car. So it proved my point. And it also just caused a lot of havoc.
Yeah, so just all self-driving cars are Shelby's hate to hate.
Hate to hate. Villains should not be allowed.
I can't. And you hate to hate Thomas Lennon's character Kelly, Zoe's boss.
Yeah, even though he was really funny, he said problematic things, and I think that was just his character. But I was like, dude, you're a very annoying boss, and I'm triggered.
Just triggered. Okay, for Love to Love, we both love Mark. He put up with Stacey's shenanigans, who did not deserve his kindness. No. He was so unproblematic and wholesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And we also, I love Reality Charge. Make that a real show. I'm ready. I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
It was so funny.
Yeah, I want to see singles competing for a self-driving car. That is such a bizarre premise, but I'm here for it. If Love is Blind can be a show, anything can be a show.
Hey,
honestly.
I agree.
Okay, Shelby.
Yes.
Is it a red flag to still be in love with your high school ex 10 years later?
Oof.
Ooh.
I think it's a red flag. Especially since they haven't communicated. He's moved on. They haven't been together in so long. They've barely seen each other. I do think it's a red flag. I'd hope after 10 years you could move on. It obviously takes a long time to move on after a relationship, but to still be in love with someone after that long and they moved on, and
Not good.
It's tough. I think it's a red flag. And I feel bad because I think Zoe really was going through it, but it's a red flag.
Yeah, I agree.
Yikes. Okay, Laura, question for you. Is it a green flag to call off your wedding because your husband-to-be is acting like a groomzilla?
I think shades of green. Because it depends on how much of a groomzilla he's being. Yes. I personally didn't think Logan was being that bad.
I think Quinn overreacted.
Yeah, I think Quinn was just going through a lot. He just wanted, if my, fiance wanted to make my wedding day perfect, oh my gosh, and he wanted to do all the work, please,
more power to him.
Please, I want someone like Logan to just want to run and do the whole wedding. Please. And Quinn's like, Logan wants everything this way. I don't want it this. And it's like, I understand she's going through a lot. She's emotional. But the way Logan was acting, he wasn't treating you bad. No, he was just a perfectionist and wanting the wedding to be a certain way. So Quinn, red flag. But if your man's acting horrible to you and being a groomzilla and, being very extreme and mean, then yeah, call off the wedding. Don't marry him. But Quinn, that was not a green flag. No.
I agree. I think it depends on the situation. So overall, how are we feeling? Is this a watch? Is it a wait?
Honestly, if you're a Zoey 101 fan, if you love Nick, it's a watch.
It's a watch.
I can't believe I'm saying it.
I did not think coming into this we would be saying watch.
Right. It was a surprisingly really fun and light and very
movie.
funny. I was not expecting
Yeah.
it to be that funny.
It's not the best movie you'll ever see, and there definitely is a lot going on, right? We talked about a random serial killer storyline, but it's a light watch and you'll laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need
I
that.
thought it was perfect for what it was. I really did. Okay. On to our what to watch segment.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about there's an iCarly reboot that on
Mhm.
Paramount Plus that we both really enjoyed. So we gotta go check that
Yes.
out.
Big Time Rush is on tour. You've
Ew,
seen
ew,
them.
get your tickets. If you listen to our episode on concerts, you know how much I enjoyed that concert. Get your tickets.
Yes. Of
Yeah.
course, there are all the old Nickelodeon shows streaming, Zoey 101, Big Time Rush, Ned's The Classified Survival Guide, if you want to watch.
It's there.
Disney
I can't.
reboots like Raven's Home or Proud Family.
Yes.
Not great, but options for you.
Okay, Shelby.
Yes.
What other Nick show would we want to see rebooted?
I'm going to say The Amanda Show. I know
Oh.
Amanda Bynes has fallen from her, her
Yeah.
star isn't as bright as it once
Yeah.
was. But that was so funny. And it'd be great to
was.
see her do skits now. Imagine. Like, let's have Amanda Bynes do comedy again. I know she's not really acting, but if she would ever come out of retirement, would love to see her do the
Yeah.
Amanda Show again.
I think that would be nice to see her have a comeback and do something
Yeah.
positive.
Lindsay Lohan had a
and-
comeback. Why can't
Right.
Amanda?
I agree. That would be really unexpected. I mean, Drake Bell, I don't know if he could make a comeback. He's going through a
Agreed.
lot. Wish him the best. But yeah, Amanda Show, that sounds fun. I like that idea.
What about you, Laura?
I also feel like, speaking about sketch shows, I feel like all that could be fun
So
for
fun.
reboots. Because there's
Yes,
so
bring
many
back
of
Keenan
those.
and Kel.
Right. And apparently, for Acclaim to Fame fans, Nick Cannon was on all that. Do you
I looked
remember
it
that?
up. He was on like the later seasons, like towards
Okay.
the end, not with
was
like the
like-
main cast.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't remember Nick Cannon on that show, but yeah.
I don't remember that. So I don't know if I want to see Nick Cannon on my TV screen any more than I already am.
He's everywhere.
But-
He's working. Talk about someone who's working. Nick Cannon is working.
He's working. So he could come back. I think all that and the Amanda Show are just such fun premises.
Yeah.
And sketch shows aren't really that much of a thing, right? It's so sad.
No. Like Key and
SNL is really the
Peele
only
was
one.
fun a few years
I
ago,
know.
but that's not anymore. Same
Bring
with
it
like
back.
the Amy Schumer stuff. Like her show's not happening anymore. So we need
I know. We need
more
more.
sketch comedy.
And also, I mean, like we talked about, Big Time Rush is on tour.
You
And
are
they're
a Big Time
crushing
Rush
it.
#1 fan.
Not number one fan. I like them. They're fun, but they're making a comeback. Like
They
they're
are.
touring the world right now.
That's huge.
And it feels like what a missed opportunity. They should do a show of them, in their 30s, touring the world, coming back after 10 years,
Yes.
semi-autobiographical.
Yes.
I think that could be really cool. I love
Put it
that
on
idea.
Paramount Plus.
I'd watch it. I will watch it. I'm watching iCarly. I'm watching Zoey 102. I will watch all of that. BTR. I'll watch anything.
Amanda
honestly.
Show.
Let's do it. These are great
Yes.
ideas. Hire us. We've said it once. We'll say it again. Hire us.
We could be executives, I'm telling you.
Yeah, consultants. Come on. So I know that there's been some Disney reboots. Is there a Disney reboot that you would like to see?
Kim Possible is one of my favorites.
That's good. There technically was a reboot of that though.
There was?
There was like there's a live action Kim Possible movie, but I never saw it. But it was
Oh my gosh,
it was on
yikes.
Disney Channel.
Clearly, I'm not that
Yeah.
big of a fan.
I don't know how well it did.
Or
but
it
I
wasn't geared
heard
towards
about
me.
it.
It was probably,
No,
like
it
we
was
said,
more kids.
Zoey
Yeah.
102, iCarly are geared towards us, but the Disney ones have not been geared towards me. So that's
No.
probably why I missed
Missed opportunity.
it. Yeah. Love Kim Possible. I guess I would be curious, maybe if they did like Hannah Montana now.
I know. I mean, come on. That would be so great. Miley Cyrus
Miley
makes
would
her
never.
comeback. I don't
She
think
would
she would do it
never.
either. But that would be so, so great.
So funny.
Wow. I would love that. I would love a Hannah Montana reboot. Yeah. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody? No, I don't really want to see that.
No, because they were like kids at a hotel. What would it be now? Them as like adults still in the hotel with shenanigans?
Yeah, I don't think the format would work.
No, yeah, I don't think the format will work.
No. So Hannah Montana, I think, would be really good off of Disney
Yes.
Channel.
I think Wizards could probably still be good too. Like certain shows have premises that
Ooh.
could be.
I like that idea. Like Selena Gomez living as, you know, a young, you know, late 20s something in New York with wizard powers. That sounds good.
People would watch.
That sounds good. I would watch that. 100%.
I don't think any
Make
of
it
them want to go
happen.
back to Disney, but if they did, these would
Ding,
be
ding,
great.
ding. Ding, ding, ding. So also something to look forward to. Jamie Lynn Spears is gonna be on Dancing with the Stars.
Woo! I don't
Ah.
know who still watches Dance with the Stars,
No.
but if you are, you can see Jamie Lynn this fall.
Dancing with the Stars has the most unhinged people on the show every season. It's so
Crazy.
bizarre.
Their
It's so
casting
bizarre.
team works hard.
They really do. They pick people who are so in the zeitgeist that are very niche, right?
Yeah.
Like Kyle's husband Mauricio, he's on like whose idea was that? Genius, but so bizarre.
Genius. For all the Real Housewives fans, you've probably heard that Kyle Richards from Beverly Hills, her and her husband are getting divorced. It was announced that they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't. It was just back and forth.
Mess.
But they putting him on Days with the Stars. Genius.
For our Netflix reality show fans, Harry Jowsey. Shelby, you might not recognize his name, but he was on the first season of Too Hot to Handle, the only season I watched of that show. Oh. And he was dating Francesca, who was on Love is Blind, After the Altar, Perfect Match. They were engaged. And then remember the whole drama with Georgia and Dom. They broke up and Georgia was with Harry Jowsey.
Oh, it's just messy.
Mess.
My head.
Mess.
Like, ow.
You're like trying to make the connection.
Yeah, I'm like, who are these people?
But basically, he's been dating anyone and everyone in the Netflix universe, and now he's on Dancing with the Stars. Like, so bizarre. They have the strangest people on the show. So Jamie Lynn will be on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, probably more Dancing with the Stars talk you were expecting. But
I know. Rooting for her. I don't know how well she'll do. She doesn't, you know.
She doesn't scream
dancer. Me as a dancer. No, our Bachelorette Charity Lawson will be on. She also doesn't peg me as a dancer, but rooting for her.
May surprise us.
Okay, so that's enough Dancing with the Stars talk.
Yeah, we gotta move on.
Well, thank you all for listening.
Yes,
it means a lot.
In.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us 5 stars review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It means a lot and it makes a big difference. Yes. Please subscribe and follow to our pages on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Check us out there and follow us at Sisters Who Watch on all social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of that.
Yes, and we want to hear from y'all. What should we watch next? You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com, DM us on social media.
Thank you for listening.
Bye. Stay watching
everything.